Hi, hello, shalom, my name is Haley Beckel, and I have not had a period in 2 years. So before we get started, I'm sure you're wondering why I look like a waitress at a 1950s diner. Well, let me explain. So right now I am filming a video where I wear my deceased grandma's clothing for a week. So, I have not had a period in 2 years. Wow, yikes. That sounds bad, because it is. Now this is for a number of reasons that I really can't explain to you. I have hypothyroidism, I've mentioned it in multiple videos at this point, and I recently was diagnosed with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. I will get into that later, because right now we're just talking about how did we get here. So, let me explain. Many years ago, I was on combination birth control, estrogen and progesterone birth control. And I was getting nauseous on it. I dreaded to take it. Just looking at the pill would make me feel like I wanted to vomit. So I went to my gynecologist for my wellness women's exam. And my gynecologist was like, "What's wrong?" And I explained to her, "These pills are making me nauseous." And she goes,
"Oh, we'll just put you on progesterone only. It's probably the estrogen."
I said, "Okay, great." She puts me on progesterone only. I don't feel nauseous anymore. Wonderful. But guess what happens? I lose my period. So at first, it was the transition between me going to college. It was like the end of my senior year into my freshman year of college, and my period had, disappeared. And I was like, this is fine. This is great. No cramps, no blood, no tampons, no pads. I am free. Or so I thought. So for that time being, that was 1 year of pure bliss of not having a period. Then the next year came and I started to get really worried, and I was like, why am I not having a period? What is going on with me? So then I go to my gynecologist, I talk to them, and I'm like, hey, can you help me? I'm not having a period. And instead of saying, oh my God, that's crazy, she goes,
"Nah, that's normal. That's fine. Your uterine lining must be real thin. Just go off the pill for a year. See what happens."
So I do. And my period never came back. But that's not the end of the video. It does not end here. So, no period, 2 years, and diagnosed with hypothyroidism. Then, as I've mentioned in my video, I can't stop gaining weight. The LBs start to pile on. 1 pound every day. Well, between half a pound and a pound every day, to be specific. And I'm freaking out because my hair is falling out, my skin is breaking out, and the weight is coming on, and I still don't have a period. So I'm like, I'm dying. I have cancer. Something is wrong with me. I'm going to die tomorrow. I'm literally freaking out. And I go to my endocrinologist and I'm like, dude, please help me. And he's like,
"No."
So I'm stuck. He just ups my prescription and I'm like still a mess. And then I can't see him until the 25th of September. So I'm like stuck for months. So what am I gonna do? I go to my gynecologist. I'm like begging them. I'm like, please, let me in. Give me some help. Someone help me. I haven't had a period in 2 years and I'm dying. And they look at me and they're like,
"You don't have an appointment until August 5th.
This is back in, July. And I'm like, I need help like now. So instead of helping me, they don't. So I go to urgent care and I'm like, hey, please help me. I tell them everything, the same thing I've been telling everyone, the same story over and over and over. And they are like,
"Okay, we can't help you, not really, but we'll do a bunch of blood tests."
So they prick and poke me and take 6 vials of blood. Love it, I know. And I get 6 vials of blood taken. I get the test results back. It's normal. So what am I supposed to do at this point? It's normal. And then I'm like, well, great. So then I go to the pediatrician because the gynecologist won't see me, endocrinologist won't see me, no one will see me. I go to the pediatrician. I'm 20 years old. I'm not supposed to go to the pediatrician, but I couldn't get in anywhere else. And I call them and they laugh at me and they're like,
why do you want an appointment with us?
And I was like, because I haven't had a period in 2 years and I have hypothyroidism and my whole body is falling apart. And then they're like, okay, fine. So I see my old pediatrician. I explained to her everything. This is the 4th doctor I've seen at this point. And she's like,
you look fine. Everything's fine.
And I have to argue with her. Like, I'm straight up arguing with her. I'm like, I'm not fine. Nothing is fine. Everything is wrong. And then she eventually says to me, because I was a patient of hers years ago, so she probably was a little sympathetic, but doctors aren't really sympathetic. And she's like, okay, I am gonna refer you to a gynecologist, but I can't get you in until the 8th of August, which is 3 days after my other appointment with the old gynecologist. So I end up going to the old gynecologist first. And I go to this old gynecologist. And that one left, so I actually get a nurse. It's a nurse practitioner, so it's not the same doctor this time. New doctor. And so she gives me a pelvic exam and a pap smear. And that's fine and good, but when I first come in here, here's what happens. I first come in here, and the nurse is like,
oh, she's not gonna give you a pap smear and a pelvic exam. You're not 21 yet.
And I was like, lady, I need it. How else am I gonna know if there's something wrong with me? There's something wrong with me, I'm telling you. And then the doctor comes in and I tell her everything for the millionth time. And she's like,
all right, I'm gonna give you a pelvic exam and a pap smear.
I was like, yeah, I know, that's what I asked for. Ridiculous. So then she gives me a pelvic exam and it's fine, everything's fine, gives me a pap smear, everything's fine, it's fine. She's like gentle and I'm not having any issues there. And then, you know what she tells me? You're normal, everything's fine. And then she goes, but I'm gonna take some blood tests. And I'm like, blood tests, great. I'm gonna have something, I'm gonna have some knowledge of what's going on. So then she gives me blood tests. And when I go to get my blood taken, oh my God, this was horrendous. This was worse than the pap smear. I swear, I would rather get 100 pap smears in a row before I would ever let this nurse take my blood again. So she goes and I stick out my arm, you know, and she's like looking for a vein, poking around in there. And she's like, all right, I got a vein. And then she like, if you're squeamish, I'm sorry. And then she takes the needle and she like slides it in there and it's, you know, a little pinch. I've got it done a bunch of times at this point. And she's like, you know, sitting there waiting and the vial's not filling up. It's not taking my blood. It's not working. So then instead of just getting a new needle and trying again, she just starts taking it out and shoving it back in different areas of my arm, the same needle. And I'm like, oh my God, what is she doing? And then she's like,
there's no blood coming out.
And I was like, yeah, I know, I can see that. So then she takes and then finally takes a new needle and starts jabbing it in my arm again. And I'm like really like shoved it. Before it was like a little slide and then this was a shove and it was so painful. And then she's like,
no blood.
And I was like, yeah, I know. So then she takes my other arm and does the same thing. It was so painful. And then she finally gets enough blood to let me leave. But that was awful. So then I leave that place and I'm like, I got another appointment in a couple days. But then this place tells me, you need an ultrasound. But guess what? I had an ultrasound scheduled on the same day with the other place. But I still made an appointment just in case the new gynecologist that I was referred to was a complete quack. So Make the appointment with them, leave. A couple days go by, go to the new gynecologist. And I go to the new gynecologist, I tell her everything millionth time. She seems to be a little more sympathetic at this point, and I'm like, all right, I'm liking her. Okay, cool, she's gonna help me. Then she gives me another pelvic exam. See, I had already had a pelvic exam from the other woman. Why'd I need another one? I don't know, she just wanted to look herself. So, strip down, same thing, pelvic exam. What she does is so shocking to me. I mean, it shouldn't be, but it was. So, I'm laying there. You know, I got my legs spread open, legs in the stirrups, and I know what a pelvic exam is. I've had a pelvic exam. I know what it is. And I'm like, it was not what I was expecting. She takes her whole fist and shoves it up my vagina, and I jump. And I'm like, ugh. And then she's like,
oh, I'm sorry. I know, it hurts. It's okay.
And I was like, yeah, because you shoved your fist up my vagina. And then she like yanked it out and it was fine. And after that, she goes, yep, everything's normal. Everything's normal. After that, it was fine because she's like, I'm gonna give you an ultrasound. And I was like, finally, give me an ultrasound so I can find out if I have something else, which we thought it was PCOS. So she gives me the ultrasound, takes the, I think it's a camera, whatever it is, that thing, shoves it up my vagina, which was not as bad as her fist. The fist was much worse. And I'm like, whatever at this point. And then ultrasound comes up on the screen, and my mom is in the room with me for moral support. And I can't see the ultrasound because the monitor is flipped to show to my mom. So I'm like, you know, trying to look and see what's going on, and she's like pointing out things. So that was great. But point is, I have PCOS, or polycystic ovarian syndrome, which means that I have cysts around my ovaries, around the edge. Your cysts should be in the center of the ovary. I will put up a picture of my ovaries, of the ultrasound of my ovaries, and I'll put up a normal picture so you can see what I mean. It forms like a pearl necklace. That's what they call it. It is the classic example of PCOS. And the doctor goes, yep, you have PCOS. And I was just like, finally, after all these doctor visits, 5 doctors, and you're telling me there's something wrong with me. Thank God. And then she goes,
and guess what? You're gonna get more blood work.
and I was like, great. But this time it was actually okay because the nurse, I showed her my bruises. And she was like, ooh. And I go, uh-huh. And then she used a pediatric needle to take my blood. And she was super gentle and it was fine. So whatever that nurse is, she needs to be fired. Like, you hurt me, but it's fine. So then a couple days later, we're now at the 15th of August. Today, I come in because I have an endometrial biopsy with this doctor. Because she said, before I left, she goes,
you know, your uterine lining is looking a bit thick.
Not the good thick with 2 C's, the bad thick with 1 K. CK thick. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. She's like, it could be cancer. So I come in today, and an endometrial biopsy is where they cut out a chunk of your uterine lining and send it away. And I watched YouTube videos of this before going into my procedure today, and I was like so nervous because the YouTube videos online are like horrifying. But it's not, I didn't watch any like, you know, like real life, like I watched animation ones. I don't want to see that up close. No. So I read the comments of this one video. I can even link it down below if you honestly want to see it. And these women are like, it was like medieval torture device. Oh my God, it hurt so bad. It hurt worse than childbirth. And I was like, oh my God. And just like, imagine, this woman shoved her fist up your vagina days ago. And now she wants to stick metal clamps up your vagina, again, up your cervix. I don't think you want that from this woman. So I was like, oh my God, she's gonna kill me. She's gonna like rip through, like it's gonna, you know, like go all the way through and then like rip out my butthole or something. It's gonna be awful. She's gonna like tear me in half. And I'm reading all these comments. One person said that they had to take Valium beforehand. And I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be so bad. So I go in today and sit down and I like tell her and I'm like, please be gentle. And then she's like, yeah, I'll be fine. It's no big deal. And I was like, okay. So then I like, you know, lay down, get strapped, everything. And then she sticks the clamps up there. And that was honestly the worst part. After that, it was, okay, I'm not gonna lie, it did hurt. But it was not worse. I don't think it was worse than childbirth. I mean, I've never given birth, but I assume that childbirth labor is much, much worse than what happened. I mean, it was 10 minutes. But she sticks those clamps up there. And when I walk in, next to the little chair that you lay in, whatever it's called, they had like the metal tools and everything. And I was like, oh my God, you know, like, ooh. And well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So yeah, I see those. Then I lay down, she comes in, and first thing she does is she cleans it out with iodine. And you'll see what I'm talking about. And then she sticks the clamps in there. And of course, I was like, that was awful. And then she is like working in there and like taking chunks out of my uterine lining, and it hurt. It did, and I remember that my mom was like, she gave me her hands and I was like squeezing her hands. Oh, it was like, oh, it was bad, but it's okay. And the funny thing is that the two of them are having a conversation while she is taking chunks of my uterine lining out. And at one point she's like, okay, we're done. And then my mom continues talking to her about like nothing. And the clamps are still stuck in my vagina. Like they're still in there. And I'm just like, take them out, please. And they're just laughing and talking. And it's just like sticking out. Like, this was for minutes, like 3 or 4 minutes. I was just laying there with the clamps still in there. Eventually they came out. And it was like a huge relief. And I was like, oh my God. So then I sit up and I see the iodine, which iodine is like, it makes like this brown, reddish brown stain, and it's on the side table. And I thought that was blood. And I was like, oh my God, I'm bleeding to death. I am bleeding. But it was just iodine. But that was a scary moment for a second. And I am fine. I am okay. I am not bleeding. So everything is all right. She did prescribe me a new birth control to take. It is a combination one. Hopefully it will work. It will be better. I have not received the pills yet, so I can't tell you for certain. But another thing that she did is, guess what? She referred me to another doctor, a dermatologist. So we'll have to see about that. Will I ever get better? Will I ever truly be okay? I don't know. But we've made some good progress. And that was I'm just updating you on this. I'm just telling you this. I find this interesting. Don't you want to hear about gynecologists shoving fists up my vagina? I think you do. Well, that is it for now. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. If you did not enjoy this, please let me know. And if you struggle with hypothyroidism or PCOS or anything, just let me know. I want to hear about it. Because we're sharing. Sharing is caring. Bye-bye.